Sometimes we're just a glutton for punishment,
Correct. Correct.
and we don't realize that that person's intentions, even though Lucy did not, I'm not 100% sure if it was truly on purpose versus just her being an antagonist for him.
Man, I think she's really vindictive. I think she liked the Charlie Brown, and Charlie Brown had so much interest in the little redheaded girl that, every time she got a chance to show her strength, she showed her strength.
Yeah, yeah. So that lets you know that, just because you're not emotionally committed to a situation,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean that other person is not, or
Right.
vice versa.
Right.
So if you're telling me that Lucy was emotionally committed to Charlie Brown, and Charlie Brown was using her to kick the football, and then she's like, nope, can't do it at that particular time.
Yeah, but
So
how often do you bang your head up against the wall expecting a different outcome?
I don't know if he thought just because him being friends with Linus, or whatever the situation might have been, everything was Gucci. But
Hey,
in
you
that
burn me once, shame on you. You burn me twice, shame on me.
right.
You know.
So in that situation, I think that's an analogy as us as humans, that we just sometimes we get caught up in maybe what we want, i.e. Charlie Brown kicking the football. We don't realize the other party and how they're affected by what we're doing, saying, feeling, or whatever. If he is committed to the redhead girl, and she knows that, but she hates that. But yeah, I'm gonna play along this way. I can, as you're saying, be vindictive in that case. Then I'm gonna continue to take the football away. But you're not bright enough.
But you're allowing.
I'm about to say,
That's
then
what
you're
I'm
not on that end. You're
He's
not
allowing
bright
it.
enough to realize it.
And these are some of the things and the issues that men and women go through when they go through abusive relationships, domestic violence. That because of what this person may have, they know what this person's going to do. A lot of it is fear.
Right.
A lot of it, 90% of it, I really strongly believe is fear. But the other 10% of it is thinking that I don't have nothing else. I don't have nowhere else to go. Nobody has shown me anything different. Or my mother went through this, or my father went through this.
Right.
So this is the pattern that I've learned, and this is what I think love is.
Mm-hmm.
So that goes back to what we are taught when we're children, or we're taught to express love a certain way, or we're taught to care and love one another and other people other than ourselves in a certain way. Because not taking the side of the abuser, the abuser is going through something too.
Right.
There's a reason why the abuser wants this control.
Right.
There's a reason why this abuser, because he doesn't have any control. So this is the only way he sees fit to have control over his life and everything around him, which is totally wrong to some degree. Because it's I don't think that no man should put their hand on a woman in any different perspective as far as defending yourself. Now, defending yourself doesn't mean that you knock her out.
Yeah.
Defending yourself means you block whatever she throws at you. That means you catch whatever she throws at you and you hold her. You just hold it tight. No, don't squeeze life out of her, but you just hold her so she can stop doing what she's doing. But because the way we are and the things that we have and the things that we don't have puts us in certain situations in these relationships. I don't. And I used to always, and I've seen people that I've seen married couples, people in relationships, and where they have to smack their spouse or to smack their girlfriend around, and then I've seen people actually fight each other, and that's part of their foreplay. This for some reason it enhances the sexual aspect of the relationship. Which is like I don't want to fight you and then have sex with you.
Yeah.
You're not gonna black my eye the time I come on to go make love. I'm still mad at you because you blacked my eye.
Right.
But I understand that we as humans, we go through this type of stuff. But in this day and age, why? Because I'm in a certain financial state in my life that I have to be subject to this because I need something. And I got to put myself and subject my children through stuff because you have what I need. Why?
See, I think because, so if we go based off of 50 years ago, where the male was the
sole
quote
provider.
unquote,
He was a sole provider.
brought home the bacon. That was the image that was portrayed on TV, right? And the spouse all she did was sit at home, be Susie Homemaker.
Correct.
Right? So if you go from that perspective, from commercialization of our life, you know, that's what's been put in front of us all this time. And then at some point in time, it did switch up a little bit, people being independent, things like that. And then I think that once Obama had gotten back in office, there was another resurgence of family and what the family dynamic would look like.
Right.
So I'm just using that as the example of the family dynamic image. But if you go back to the 50s, with that person being that male being the one bringing home the bacon, the wife cooking it, taking care of the kids or whatever else, because the males, well, how many hours were they working at that time?
Correct.
What were the males doing?
Right.
You know, if you look at the 40s when they were in war or wherever the situation might have been, yes, the ladies were taking care of home, the kids, so forth and so on. And then as time has moved on, as people working for the government, you know, and then eventually, and being proud of working for the government, and then eventually getting to the private sector where people were making actually more money than being in the government, and you realize like, whoa, wait a minute, I could really make a whole lot of money in this place, then I believe it had become a little easier for people to stay home and be Susie Homemaker, because now I can afford a bigger house. Now we can have more than one car. Now we can go on these better trips and so forth and so on. And then when you see that as one or two things, either they stay that way or they ended up getting a divorce, you know, parents get a divorce. Now you realize, oh, wow, now I could either stay in this place and marry for money or whatever else, or I saw that once they got a divorce and they were no longer together, oh, I know we go from living in, if y'all from Philly, living in Villanova to going to live in Chester.
Right.
So two different places. That does not mean that Chester doesn't have any money, and that does not mean that Villanova doesn't have any slums, but the imagery that you have about these areas is that one is not as great as the other.
Correct.
You know, so you know, so with that particular mentality, I enjoy living in my big house. I enjoy having my sprawling lawns and things like that. So what do I need to do in order for me to stay with this person? And it may consist of me continually dealing with this type of abuse, because I want me, my kids, and my kids' kids to continue to benefit from this money. Because depending on where you live, quote unquote, even if you got a divorce, that doesn't mean you're going to get half.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That doesn't mean that he's going to pay alimony. And if you get that one person that's smart and say, yo, I'm just going to be with you until the kids are grown, then I ain't got to worry about paying child support. You know, it just depends.
Now, I understand the similarities between now and the 50s. And I also understand the differences. But, like, well, we didn't know that in the 50s, guys coming home because they were stressed out and they would beat their wives. They would kick their kids around, kick the dog. And they also had drinking problems. So that also contributed to what they were doing as far as domestic violence in the household. And yes, and I mean, in our household we have both of us work. Mm-hmm. just like with y'all, both of y'all work.
Right.
So we share the duties in everything that we do.
Right.
You know? And then, like, if I had a rough day, I don't come home and take it out on her. I come home and I discuss it. You know, I let her know, yo, I had a rough day today, blah, 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 this is what happened. So I kind of try to leave it outside the door, but I also bring it in so I can not leave it on her. You know, I just want to get rid of it. And vice versa, she does the same thing.
Right.
She talks.
Right.
But in the 50s, you had this image that the female was, like you said, was there just to be in the kitchen, cook, clean, take care of the house.
Right.
2019, you don't have that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not at all. You don't have that. 2019, which is a good thing. I think that is a good thing. I don't think that women should be subjected to just one stereotype. I don't think they should be subjected to any stereotype. I think women should be able to do what they want to do, and if the male is with her, he should compromise and help her out. You know, that's what a relationship is about. It's about compromise. It's about us working together as a team and taking care of what we need to get done and get it done.
So let me ask you this then.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm sitting here listening to you, and you're talking about this stereotype or whatever else, as I'm thinking of Hollywood, because like I said earlier about imagery, right?
Right.
So when you think about Hollywood and or these ratchet shows that's on TV, when you really think about them, let's be all the way real.
Mm-hmm.
Those that's making the money is not really on the show.
Right.
It's just, so the housewives, quote unquote,
people behind the scenes
are on the show where the people that's really making the money are out working.
Yeah, people behind the scenes.
So again, it's all imagery. So is it really that the spouse, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, the significant other, is it that they really don't want to be in the household? Do they really want to play equal playing field? Or is it just because of, in a situation of being single, you want equal pay because, like, hey, just because I'm single and I'm a female doesn't mean I don't earn the same amount of money that a male would make.
Right.
To a certain degree. So I think that's kind of in my opinion, like that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
But I do believe that in some of this that, how much of that is the effects of going through abuse with, over a few generations and realizing, you know what, I'm no longer tied down to that abuse. I'm somebody else. I'm something else. I'm better than that. Now I want to work. Now I want money. That type of thing.
Well, when the women did not want to work, women always worked. They just wasn't getting paid for what they was. Well, they were somewhere. They were getting paid. They were some that were married were getting paid, quote unquote.
Right.
They were getting paid because the husband would take care of everything that they needed. Of course. So. And
I think the job that were they were able to take at one point in time was not on the same level.
Correct.
Whether or not they were manning someone else's house.
Right.
That type of thing.
Right.
There was a stereotype of what a man's job was versus a female's job was.
Well, it's a man's governed world, this, and it's always been like that. And
right.
And I don't agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely don't agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you can do the job, you should be paid what the job is worth.
Right.
I don't think you should make more because you're a man, even if it was me, or because you're a woman, you should get paid less.
Right.
If we're doing the same job, then we, unless I am the supervisor or the person, if or if you're the supervisor, whoever, or the manager, then you should be getting paid accordingly.
Right.
Because of the job positioning. But today, you brought up the housewives.
Right.
And I think we talked about this before on a personal note that me personally, I believe that all the housewives on there weren't married. So why are they called housewives?
Right.
It's like the basketball wives. Why
right.
are all of them called the basketball wives? Why are they not called the ex-wives?
Right.
But me and why it's called what it's called.
Right.
Because it doesn't. Who wants to watch the ex-wives?
Right. Yeah. Right.
We want to watch the wives because we want to make sure we want to see if we can see some stars.
Right.
And the ratchetness sells. Drama always sells.
Right.
Look at your news. Who makes the most drama is going to get the most airtime. So who becomes the most ratchet on there is going to get the most money.
And then when you look at that ratchetness, that goes along with the abuse. Because sometimes because you've seen it, you grew up in it, sometimes you allow it.
Right.
Right. Granted, on some of them shows, yeah, like they go at it verbally. All right, some of it looks very scripted, some of it does not, whatever.
Right.
But then those moments where you see a guy beating on a girl or things like that, like, you had to have seen that somewhere before.
Of course.
And or wherever you were, it was accepted.
Right.
It's not accepted everywhere. So I think that's how all that ties in together. In my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I agree with you.
But you know what, y'all? We appreciate y'all for listening.
It's almost that time. But before we go real quick, I just want to state that